that is it, boys and girls. We have officially dewormed this entire harness. We've identified the ones that we need in order to integrate with our OBS harness. Now, the next thing we need to do is to get these key hots sorted out. Now, like I said, on LT1 swap, Mr. Brendan goes about creating a 4 individual fuse block that incorporates a single relay in order to trigger just these key hot features. And as I stated in my previous video, stripping the OBS harness, that I will not be utilizing that approach. I will be integrating these key hots into pre-existing key hot circuits in my OBS harness, which I have already set aside, simplified, and identified, and have labeled, ready to go. So when it comes time to merging this harness with the OBS harness, my plan is to simply find, like, go to a junkyard or whatever and lop a couple of these type of plugs off, weatherproof plugs, and just kind of integrate plugs like these. Obviously, all the wires from these into one plug, and then maybe all the key hots into, let's say, another plug. That way, I'll have the LS harness, I'll have the OBS harness, and to integrate the two, I will just simply have to plug both of the connectors in and be able to hit the key and that bitch will run. So if you've been following along, like I said, I wanted to remove all of this stuff, but I don't want to go through this entire harness. I think it's just kind of pointless and redundant to that's a lot of extra work. If we're building a show car or something, sure, but we're not even doing that, so I really don't see the point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of keep weeding some of these extra bullshit wires that can easily come right on out, and then we'll move on to these key hots. Alright, so we got our harness pretty much. We got all our work done here on these PCM connectors. But I'm just going to leave these for now. Everything labeled and set aside. This ground wire we already discussed. It's never a bad idea to have, grounds handy. Starter wire set aside and labeled. Now let's go ahead and work on identifying and labeling these key hots. We're going to need our notes from earlier. Now, as far as fuel injectors go, I believe the fuel injectors are grouped in groups of 2. So let's go ahead and start and get those out of the way first. C10, ooh, I like that. C10 pink injectors 1 through 3. So ABC 10. I'm going to try to snip these as close as I can. As you can see, I don't have a whole lot of wire here. Injector 1-3. C12. These is injectors 2 and 4. 2-4. D10. 2 more injectors, and then it'll be E7. See, I'm glad I made this list earlier because I'd be scratching my head wondering what the hell is what. Okay, snip. Alright, so we successfully went through all the fuel injectors. D8 heated oxygen sensors front. E8 is for the rear oxygen sensors, which we do not need. Just go ahead and snip these bastards up out of the way. Just going to pull them aside. E12. This is for your spark plug coils, and this is for engine coils 1, 3, 5, and 7. 1, 3, 5, 7. Okie dokie. Now we got our 1, 3, 5, 7. Let's find our E6. Moving right along. We only got a few more to go. D8. Let's see what the hell's going on in D8. Heated O2s, front oxygen sensors. I should have known. 8. All right, D8, you're out of there. B6. Evap purge valve. We don't need you. And we're building a mean, lean racing machine. So, in the theme of ones that we're not using, we're just going to go ahead and set it aside. I am going to label it though. F9. Ryan F9. You guys like motorcycles? Watch F9. It's a pretty interesting channel. It just says fused 12 volt. So I guess we'll keep this one in the mix because it just says fused 12 volt. But we are going to label it. Alright, what do we got left here? We got A, B, C, C4 mass airflow sensor. We gonna need you. Alright, last of the Mohicans. What the hell are you? F2. What the hell are you, F2? PCM. Trans solenoids. You are important. And just like that, we have officially simplified our very first LS harness. We removed quite a bit, but as you can see, there's still plenty of meat here, you know, and all this stuff here, all the stuff remaining here is what is exactly necessary to power and control your engine. That dude in there like that. So yeah, we're good to go on the blue plug. Alrighty. That way, as we're dragging our connector around, we're not gonna worry about damaging or messing with the pins or whatever. Now that this is all taken care of, now what I gotta focus on is remerging the mass airflow sensor harness bit that got lopped off and the passenger side front oxygen sensor that got lopped off. And also, I picked up at the junkyard, as you can see, this plug has experienced some, this is what critter nibblings looks like. This is what happens when you get critters nibbling on your wires and shit, which is never good. I mean, that's the only thing I can explain. You know, that's not caused from just like rubbing on stuff. That's like actual like teeth marks, but that's another reason why we wash our hands before we do this type of stuff, you guys, because, you know, somebody was dinking with the map sensor on whatever this harness was removed before, and they, you know, had a big old fat greasy cheeseburger, and they got their greasy cheeseburger fingerprints all over it, and critters were like, oh, I smell cheeseburger, and they went and nibbled on it. So, fair warning, you guys, don't be stupid. Wash your hands before you do this. Alright, where's that MAF sensor at? Here we go. MAF sensor should be relatively straightforward and easy. Now, we can go about finding these wires here. Which, some of the ones that are single colored, obviously they're not going to be too hard to identify. Obviously this yellow wire here goes to this yellow wire here. And we can always revert back to our pinout and test the wires just to double check and clarify. You hear them geese out there? You probably can't hear them, but I hear them geese in there fly. Alright, we're going to need our pinout again. Our yellow notebook, and we might even need our color chart again. Well, it's good to have these notes, people. Alright, C4 math. And as you can see, we've identified this one as C4. So that way we know this one goes to our math. Luckily, we labeled these sheet. This tan wire. We'll find out which one was for the mass airflow sensor R25. Something tells me that's our guy. A little twist-a-rooney there. Alright, so we got 2 wires left. So there's black with a white stripe. What was R57? R57 is a black IAT sensor ground. My instinct, my spider sense, is telling me that this is our guy for this ground. Alright, so that covers our mass airflow sensor. As far as that goes, now the only thing we got left is our front oxygen sensor. I'm going to use this plug here, which is from my original OBS harness, but this plug works with the case grounded oxygen sensor, which my truck happens to have. So we got this tan wire here, and this is for the front O2. So we got a B26. B26, bank 2, sensor 1. I believe this is our guy. Bank 2 meaning the passenger side, sensor 1 meaning the front oxygen sensor. Sensor 2, bank 2, sensor 2 would be the rear oxygen sensor. See, aren't you glad we went along with our multimeter and labeled all this shit? Just definitely makes all this a lot more straightforward and easy. Purple one here. Now we got 2 purples here. B66 and a B65. Place your bets on which one you think it'll be. I'm gonna guess, without looking, 65. Nope, I was wrong. I lost. B66 is our guy. Alright, now just gotta find a pink hot for our oxygen sensor and a ground. Go to our, find our E8. Rear oxygen sensor. We don't need E8. We need D8. Uses his D8 to dig for gold. And I just want to go ahead, just kind of double check, make sure that all these grounds were common. We'll wrap around this one here. So these are all connected internally through some kind of splice somewhere, I believe. And all of these other wires are accounted for. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this guy here. He's been with us the whole time. He's been our friend. Just going to go ahead and use him as our grounding force for our front passenger side bank 2 sensor 1 oxygen sensor. Alrighty, moving on. Now, also, when I was at the junkyard there, I also acquired myself another one of these map sensor plugs, because as I explained earlier, this one had some critter damage done to it. So we're gonna go ahead and just replace this while we're doing all this jazz. Man, they used a lot of tape on these flipping harnesses, and it is annoying. These 3 wires are the same, so just go ahead and nip. Right, while I am reconnecting my whatchamacallit, go ahead and set up my little soldering iron here and get this thing pumping. Is this Blue Point battery, or not battery, butane powered soldering iron. Works out pretty well. And snip this back. It's just 3 wires. Nothing too crazy. Just got a brand new roll of solder the other day. Castor, baby. That's the good stuff. You'll notice a difference when you're using good solder and junk solder that they sell at, like, you know, the local frickin' Home Depot and stuff. You want to get some good solder, you know, get this Castor brand. It's like the cream of the crop. You used to be able to just walk into like a Radio Shack. Last time I needed a roll of solder, you know, I bought it from a Radio Shack, and it lasted me a good, you know, 5-10 years almost. And then I ran out of solder, and went to go find a new roll, and what do you know, all the Radio Shacks are gone and extinct. So I said, when you use good solder, it just flows right into the wire. You barely have, you know, you don't got to sit there and jerk it for 20 minutes waiting for it to start melting in there like that OT crap. So, you know, you got to use what you got. But if you're doing electronic work on the reg and soldering stuff on the reg, treat yourself to a roll of good quality solder. It'll just make your life that much easier. Look at that. We got all of our connections made and soldered up. That's all the solder we got left. Alright, so armed with my roll of tape, I'm just going to go ahead and just start taping up these wires. Now, I could have and probably should have done some shrink wrap tubing, but I don't have any, and I'm too lazy to go get some. Not to mention it is like 1 o'clock in the morning. Everything is closed. So we're just gonna tape them up old school style. I like to use a pair of scissors to cut the tape, because when you just yank it and stretch it and pull it, it has a tendency to want to, you know, contract, and it starts to unravel itself. So when you snip it with scissors, you ain't really got to worry about that too much. So now that you guys know what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and put y'all on time lapse. That way we can just breeze through this together. Alrighty, boys and girls, it's going to be a long one, but I appreciate you guys sticking through, and you know, if you guys watch from beginning to end, we're pretty much got everything ready to go now. All I got to do is integrate these key hots in with my OBS harness, and these wires in with the OBS harness as well. And like I said, I'm just going to do that via a couple of connector plugs that I still have to obtain, and you know, get that all configured. But for the most part, we are ready to go with this thing. This is the simplified LS harness, and like I said, I went ahead and just kind of snipped and pinned out what was not necessary and needed, and I didn't exactly weed anything out of the harness with the exception of the rear passenger O2 sensors and stuff. That was when I was redoing that leg of the harness, and we got that all figured out. Got the passenger front oxygen sensor plug on there. I left a little bit of extra length on it because I don't know how long it's going to be or where it's going to be routed. New map sensor plug, and I also rerouted the mass airflow sensor wiring along with the passenger side fuel injector wiring. So like I said, tedious, time consuming. I started this project around, I don't know, maybe quarter to 10 o'clock at night, and it's now like 1:30 in the morning. So it took me a few hours. It would have taken me, you know, probably a lot less time if I didn't have to, like, you know, stop and record and film and all that kind of jazz. But, you know, I wanted to include you guys in this because I know there's a few of you guys pay attention, following along, and maybe doing this for your own self. So like I said, there's hundreds of ways to do this, and this is just the way I went about doing it. So now that we are where we're at here, basically what I need to do with this harness is I need to, like I said, I need to come up with a couple of weatherproof plugs to get all that stuff jiving with the new stuff, and then just put the harness back in the truck, hook the battery up to it, and cross our fingers that everything works and the thing will run. So this was a big step, you guys, and I appreciate you guys sticking around and helping me with it, because you know, it would have been boring sitting here doing it by myself. So anyway, until the next one, I appreciate you guys sticking around, and you know, big shout out to Brendan at lt1swap.com. Big shout out to I don't know the gentleman's name, but his channel on YouTube is called You Can Do It Too. He did a great job of just basically simplifying and breaking down, like, step by step, you know, what needs to be done, and explaining what wires are what. But you know, it's kind of a group effort on YouTube. Everyone has a little bit to contribute, and hopefully me filming and putting this on YouTube will help somebody else out down the road when they're doing their OBS swap. So Either that or I'm just going to get bombarded with questions. Either way, I'm cool with it. So anyways, like I said, it's like 1:30 in the morning. I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm cranky. I'm going to go inside and clean up and get something to eat and call it a night. So until the next one, thanks for watching.